you all hear me in the back? No. First of all, I want to thank my Uncle Cam for his very beautiful words. I love you, Uncle. For those of you who may not know, I am Charlotte's daughter, Becca, and Grandma Kay's granddaughter number 2 of 14. First and foremost, on behalf of the entire family, I want to thank each and every one of you for attending my grandma's ceremony and celebrating her life in heaven. I stand here with just a few words as her granddaughter about my grandmother in representation of her grandchildren, her great-grandchildren, and one great-great-grandson. I am aware that I cannot express every feeling on behalf of all of us, and actually what she meant to each and every one of us. Uncle Cam said it best in her obituary. Grammy, Grandma Kay, Karen. She had a different name for each and every one of us. Then I would add, strong, loving, smart, moral, and a mentor to each and every one of us. On top of that, I would say she was one of my favorites. For all of us who are blessed enough to know and love our grandmother, the only things that will capture who she truly is are the warm memories each of us hold within our hearts. And Grandma, you're in my heart. Our grandma was kind to all of her grandchildren, great-grandchildren. Some even said she just simply spoiled us. I think that was true. Cam mentioned the cookies. Oh boy, did we get any cookie we wanted. Not only that, but she kept a candy jar, a 3-layer tier. Our moms, our aunts might say no, but she'd sneak it to us. Not only that, but every Easter she would save up all of her strawberry baskets. She was frugal and she knew how to reuse. She always recycled. And boy, we better too. And she would make Easter baskets for each of us and put our names on them and hide them at Easter time. Such a surprise. Our grandma was so much fun. One thing my brother Judson reminded me of last night at the wake was that not only was she my favorite, but Grandma had a way of making each and every one of us truly believe we were her favorite. But guys, really, I am. She didn't really live a lavish lifestyle, not at all, but she didn't care to. And the neat thing about that is it surely didn't stop her from sending each and every one of us a birthday card each and every birthday with a $5 check in it. And that was enclosed for every one of us, and I just couldn't believe that she didn't just remember us, but our children, our children's children. The only thing that really seemed to matter to our grandma was family, togetherness, bonding with each other, laughter and love. And then when I stopped sending, when she was sending the $5 checks and I actually stopped cashing them, I got in trouble because it didn't balance out in her checkbook. I finally told Grandma, while I needed those $5 checks when I was younger and it meant 5 gallons of gas, I no longer need them, but please keep sending them. In representation of the grandchildren, of course I'm one of the elder ones, if it's not a parent. Being of a riper age, I not only got to witness how my grandmother treated me, but also how she treated my other cousins, and then of course my own children and their children's children. It really was neat to be witness to see how she treated all the grands and the greats, as she called us, the grands and the greats, the adorables, the beautifuls. I recently became a grandmother myself in November of last year. Our daughter blessed my husband David and myself with a grandchild, and that made her a great-great-grandmother. And while she got to meet him this summer, I know he will not remember her, but she felt so blessed to meet him. I'll be sure to tell him all about her as he grows, show him the 5-generation photo, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity we took with Graham this summer that my sister Naomi fully insisted we take. Thank you, Naomi. I'll tell him she was a caring, generous woman, all about her adventures that I'm aware of. During her latter years, I actually moved back to Minnesota, and I was fortunate enough to spend a lot of time, learning of her many stories from her childhood and also her young adulthood that she had not shared before, but also many more that she reminded me of. And of course, one was the gift of accepting the Holy Spirit and what that meant for her. You know, the funny thing about Grandma is, growing up, she wasn't without much. She actually worked hard to support her children and her family through its better and worse days. Our grandmother played a lot of roles throughout her lifetime. She loved and cared for each one of us in her own special way, and definitely it was completely unconditional love. Even when trouble arose, and at the end of the day, she always had a very large heart that was filled with nothing but love for God and love for us. She was quite feisty. Taught me how to be feisty. No, she blamed that really on my personality, but she said she was always taken aback when she looked at her family. I called her a bragger. She always said, "Say, Beck, you know, I have the most beautiful children and grandchildren." Oh, cats. "I'm just so lucky to have all of you so gorgeous, smart, and good-hearted." Then she'd hold my arm and say, "Wow, Beck," pulling me close. I probably shouldn't be saying this, but my family really is the most beautiful. And I said, "Well, that's true." Without her making the decision to have such a large family of her own, we wouldn't be here. The life she gave to her children and grandchildren, the holiday gatherings, and just because she always opened her heart and her door, she always had a really, really full house, as Cam mentioned. And then Karen reminded me how amazing it was. Grandma, you see, if you're a grandchild, had a magic closet. This magic closet was in the dining room, and everything was in that closet. The wrapping paper for Christmas, color books and color crayons, toys, thingamajigs, you name it. But somehow, if someone just happened to show up last minute, or she got notice of that, a Christmas present also arrived from this magic closet, and it was under the tree with their name on it. It didn't matter what that present was, if it was knit mittens, a pot holder, but they had a present and a gift, and unbelievably, that's true. Even when we were younger, she gave us double gifts. We got gifts from Grandma and from Santa Claus, and we were really good. Between her and our grandfather, they had a wonderful life raising all of their children, their grandchildren, and the others that came after that. I know this because when stories and memories are told, it's always warm, truly touching. Memories filled with laughter and joy, even at the wake, even on the day of her death when we all gathered. We couldn't help but laugh and end with joy. If you know her, you know her passion that she had for her mother, much like I did. You know that she would tell on you and tell stories like, "Becca was the only grandchild I ever spanked." And then she said, "Why?" She would tell us this story about an axe. And she would reference it to the reason that I was the only grandchild she ever spanked. She said because I was stubborn when my mother was in the hospital and temperamental, and I would not be quiet and go to sleep, and she just wasn't going to have it. It was simply the only thing that brought her success was to spank it out of me. It was after that I fell in love with her, spending that time with my grandma while I was in the hospital. And she said, "You know, I really loved my mother too." One time when I was 4, I was traveling with my mother in a car. And she had a lady companion with her driving the car, and she would fall over the seat, trying to hug her neck, wanting to be as close as she could to her grandma. We all loved our great-grandma as well, could see why. So it wasn't long till they arrived back home, and we have no idea what Grandma was thinking, but for some reason, she went to a shed or sort of a garage, found an axe, swung it over her shoulder, and the next thing you know, she says, "I never knew Grandpa could run so fast." If you knew her, you know the passion she had for her grandchildren to make it through church, this church, in one piece without Grandpa having to swat us when we got home before dinner. And she would do that by supplying us with arts and supplies, crafts, paper, and bloops, big bloops. And one of my cousins said, "Did I get bloops? Maybe I never got bloops." And I said, "Oh, we all got bloops." They were like big gobstopper size without the hard coating, and you wouldn't say anything. If you knew her, you know her passion she had to teach. She made us sit at that dining room table, and we did that cursive writing over and over and over. But Grandma, I only have to practice for an hour. No, you'll practice some more. And by the way, I think you were supposed to be left-handed. If you knew her passion she had to just let us play. I mean, she played with us too, which was amazing. From bumping down her stairs to hide and seek in her basement, playing with her hairspray dolls that she later gave to her granddaughters. We each have one, very fun. You know, and speaking of playing in her basement, I remember one time my cousins, I was the best hider, and they never found me, and they all went back upstairs to dinner because they couldn't find Becca, and of course I wasn't giving up my location. Might need it again. And Grandma said, "Where's Becca?" And they said, "Oh, we can't find her, we're playing hide and seek." So she came down, and it just took her 2 seconds to know exactly where I was. Grandma, there are simply no words we can express how much you'll be missed. The fun, the bloops, the axe story, not so sure about, but how much you are loved, how much you have taught us all. Let's all be thankful for the special moments that our Grandma Kay left in each and every one of us in our hearts. Her spirit just always lit up a room, and it's definitely very cozy memories we have of her that we'll always carry with us. And in closing, I'd like to say, on behalf of the entire family, I would like to thank you for coming. I'd like to thank my Uncle Cam for his wonderful eulogy. Thank you, Cam. I want to thank all my aunts and uncles for making today possible. And I want to thank my mother, Charlotte. I want to thank you for being Grandma's sole caregiver for numerous years and into her very last. It's because of you our Grandma got to live to the age of 97. We all got to enjoy her so much. I know I speak for everyone here, Mom. I want to say thank you. And as we say farewell, I want to read you and leave you with a quote that reminds me so much of my wonderful Grandma Kay. This is by George Eliot. "Oh, may I join the choir invisible. Oh, may I join the choir invisible of those immortal dead who live again. In minds made better by their presence live, in pulses stirred to generosity, in deeds of daring rectitude." George Eliot. Thank you.